carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feathershare Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Featherchair, the world's lightest wheelchair, is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Reach Across Johnson County segment on Joco Community Radio. You can join us live here on Facebook or download the TuneIn Radio app. It's free, where we are live 365 on Joco Community Radio, the voice of Johnson County, Texas. To share a little bit about Reach, our mission is to support safe and healthy choices vital to the well-being of our youth, families, and community. The show will guide you, educate you, and inspire you to be a part of the solution and to reach out and make a difference in your communities. What began as a local movement in the city of Midlothian grew to include programs throughout Ellis County with only a few years and eventually expanded into our neighboring Johnson County, Texas. And I am Sherry Phillips. I'm one of your hosts for this evening, and I'll let my other co-host introduce themselves real quick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Vasquez.
Hi, and I'm Erica.
Okay. Oh, for some reason, I didn't hear you. Okay. I need to check your mic here in just a second. Okay. So I wanted to share a couple of announcements really quick. And we have coming up, we have the Rise Mental Health Conference that's going to be on October the 8th. And do you mind sharing a little bit about that, Ashley?
Yeah. So the conference is completely free, and it is here in Burleson at Pathway Church, though we are not affiliated. The conference is not affiliated with Pathway. We will have a variety of main session speakers, including doctors, therapists, and some people sharing their personal testimonies with mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be having some breakout sessions where they'll be teaching more tangible ways to cope with mental health, any mental health disorders, or just stress in general. We will be providing a free t-shirt, a bag, some giveaway items. We'll be having a build your own toolkit table, and we will have a variety of vendors and resources, and of course food trucks. So
I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a real good day for us all to take advantage of doing a little self-care and all while we're doing that. So that'll be good. Well, I kind of wanted to mention August is considered Overdose Awareness Month, and today is recognized as International Overdose Awareness Day. But what we're going to do tonight, I heard that one. So what we're going to talk about this evening, our topic is One Pill Can Kill. And we've got some ladies that are going to be joining us, and that they've lost a loved one to fentanyl poisoning. And so I'd like to welcome Laura and Becky. Is that correct? Can you ladies hear us okay? Okay, perfect.
Yes,
right, I'm going to read a little bit about
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to do read your bios real quick. Laura Didier is from Song for Charlie, and after losing her beloved youngest child, 17-year-old Zach, on December the 27th of 2020 to a counterfeit prescription pill made of illicit fentanyl, Laura Didier has made it her mission to warn and educate others on this deadly crisis. She serves as an outreach coordinator for the family-run nonprofit organization Song for Charlie. Their focus is on public awareness through social media campaigns and presentations in schools. All resources offered on the Song for Charlie website are timely, accurate, and free. Laura has also worked with multiple district attorneys' offices and other county agencies on One Pill Can Kill public service campaigns. And we want to welcome you, Laura, and I'm going to read a little bit on Becky Stewart. She is a fellow Texan. She's from the Austin, Texas area, and she lost her son, Cameron, on March the 20th of 2021 to the fentanyl poisoning. Since Cameron's passing, Becky has made it her mission to educate students, parents, and communities on the dangers of fentanyl. She has created a change for Cam in honor of her son, but got her start by working with Song for Charlie. Thank you so very much for being with us this evening, ladies. I am so sorry for y'all's loss. We've all
Thank
kind of
you.
experienced, we all have our own dealings with, the fentanyl poisonings. We've lost some youth in our communities here. And, with us being in the work that we do, we unfortunately do get exposed to a lot of this stuff and hear, some very tragic stories. And so we too try to bring awareness. We do the Naloxone trainings and try to share the information on the Naloxone as well. But as you'd mentioned, with the fentanyl poisoning and the One Pill Can Kill campaign, I think that's what most that we've been hearing about. It's more of the fentanyl poisoning versus the overdose. And so we just again welcome y'all for being with us this evening. Laura, can you share your story about Zach? Okay, I'm not hearing. There you go.
Oh, are we there? Okay.
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, I appreciate you about what happened, the tragedy that happened to our family. My son's the youngest of three kids. He was only 17 years old and doing great at his high school, and he ran on the track team. He loved straight A student, and he also was a performer. He loved music, and he had started his school musical, and he played the role of Troy Bolton just a few months before music was his passion. So he played piano and guitar, and he was just a very wonderful relationship with myself and with his dad and with his older siblings, and history of abusing drugs or alcohol. So we were incredibly December 27th of 2020 when he hadn't come down for lunch or anything, and when Chris went to check on him at his desk, like he had just laid his head down and he never woke up. It was a very big mystery what had happened, as I mentioned, and there were no drugs in his room. They ruled out self-harm immediately, then kind of treated it as a potential crime scene because they're in our county. And so they were seeing this sharp rise in fentanyl deaths. And that was when the coroner came to get Zach, and the authorities were searching the house. The center said, "We suspect we'll find fentanyl in his toxicology report." And that's a find. Through opening up his phone, we were able to see that he had that was advertising prescription pills on social media, getting a prescription pain pill, which of course is not something that I but it should not have killed him. If he had gotten the actual pill he thought he was getting. So once we happened to him, his father and I both decided we wanted to warn our. I aligned with very early on with Song for Charlie, and how I find myself in this position, and it looks well. Is that right?
How do we turn the feedback down?
Is it just turned?
Yeah, because you're breaking up just a little bit as well on our end. Let's see. I think we've got somebody that's working on that at the moment.
Echo cancellation.
Okay. Are y'all still getting the feedback as well?
We aren't getting feedback. We hear y'all fine.
Okay. Well, we're hearing you better now. So I'm thinking whatever the problem may have been, maybe it got corrected.
Okay, good. Is it better?
Yes, we can hear you a lot better now.
But now the other way. Okay, let's see. I'm not sure how that happened. Do we no, enable camera? Well, that's strange because it was showing us before.
It's showing your candles now.
That's I know weird. That is out the other way.
Huh.
You don't happen to have headphones or anything that you're able to use, do you?
I could go grab some.
Okay. Sometimes by doing the headphones, sometimes that helps a little bit as well. For those, let me ask you this: for those that may not know what fentanyl is, do you want to talk about that just a little bit?
Sure, Becky. Do you want to?
Yes. So fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that's highly, and it's manufactured in mass quantities, mainly in Mexico. I mean, there are people in their garages, in their basements, and it is in its truest form is dangerous. Gosh, I'm losing my words here. A few grains of sand worth can kill you. That could kill. And what's happening now is they used to make it and add it to prescription. Now they're making it in their own pill presses and making them look exactly like drugs. They're stamping them, scoring them, shaping them exactly like a legitimate pill. And even now they're branching out, making them look like candy. They're targeting kids is what they're doing.
Right.
Appealing to kids. And we're just the cost of doing business to these dealers because they know they're killing these people. Someone right around the corner to purchase pills. And so they don't feel that effect. I was at his funeral and said, R.I.P., we lost a good one. But the very next post was a handful.
Oh my gosh.
How does somebody sleep at night when they do that? Anyway, being cheap and being easy to make because they don't have to wait for crops to come to, for the poppy seeds for the opioids and to wait on that. So they can just keep doing it 24/7 and making mass across the border. So.
Oh my goodness. Well, would you like to share a little bit about your personal story as well?
Sure, I can do that. And thanks for letting me join this, Lou-in.
We're happy to have you.
Literally haven't even been here an hour yet. 19-year-old son, Cameron. Let's talk about, let's get going. We got to get down.
We're doing a podcast.
Let's do
Surprise, you're doing a podcast today.
Education. Get some education. Anyway, we've lived in the Austin, Texas area. Both my boys north of Austin, and my 19-year-old son, Cameron, March 20th of 2021, was found dead in his apartment. And texting with him the day before, and we were going to go down to what we call Town Lake Dog and hit some food trucks. And the last text I sent him was going to go tomorrow. And he had originally said, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, let me know what time you want to go. And I never heard back, which wasn't abnormal for a teenager. That's not abnormal. But when I went to bed, I did the oblivious, question mark, and figured I'd wake up at 2 a.m. and have a response. And woke up at 2, didn't have a response. 3, didn't have a response. And then I knew some senses were going. My mama's intuition was going. And eventually, after I got out of denial stage, I called his dad and asked when he had heard from him last. It hadn't been since me. So we met at his apartment. And so we called the police. And they entered the apartment and found him. And toxicology came back. And the sole cause of his death was fentanyl. He was made the incredibly poor choice to purchase a pill, and that one pill killed him. We know who sold him the pill. And unlike Zach, Cameron did struggle. He had a lot of issues that he was just really high anxiety, depression. With so many different pressures these days that unfortunately for those pressures and for the mental health issues keeps them from going. I can't hear.
Oh,
shoot! We're still seeing that people can't.
Sorry.
Yeah, every now and
Anyway,
then
he coped in a really bad way. Tried to get relief by buying a pill, and that ended his life. Our lives were changed forever that day.
So did both of your sons, did they purchase like through social media?
Social media.
See, and I think that's a lot of parents, I don't think realize, the access that these dealers, have to our kids now. And, especially now, after COVID, things are starting to get to where kids are back in schools and things like that. And we're hearing a lot from our school districts that, the mental health side of things is put a lot of stress on our kids. And I'm afraid that that's what's happening is a lot of the kids, are turning to things like this, not realizing just how dangerous it can be. Are y'all hearing us okay? Okay.
We're going to try it. It's only one of mine is working, so I can hear you guys. Sorry,
no, that's fine. Sometimes these things happen.
Yeah. Well, I said that, and then found out that tomorrow sentencing hearing for the person the pill to Zach. So that's why Becky flew in.
Okay. So it's the sentencing hearing for the one that sold it to him is okay. All right.
Yeah.
Remind me again where you're at, Laura. Are you you're on the West Coast?
California.
Oh, you are in California. Okay. Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. Well,
I can hear you now. Is that
okay? Good.
Audio any better? Or
I'm hearing you okay.
Yeah, I can hear y'all. Can one of y'all or both of y'all kind of talk about what counterfeit pills are for those who might not be aware?
I mean, because some people think that this is the traditional prescription fentanyl, right? Explain that that's different. Yeah. They're quite different.
It's very different. So this is not diverse grade fentanyl that you would get in a hospital. It's purely illicitly manufactured, and it is in a powder form. Powder. What these, like Becky mentioned, is they are complete counterfeit pills from the legitimate pill that has been laced with fentanyl. It's all just filler material mixed together. And then they run that through, and they can press out thousands of, and then they get the stamps that then they put on. So it looks just like
Just
the
like
Xanax
the
pill, or just
yeah.
like the real thing. So the one life was made to look like a Percocet, but there was no Percocet in that pill at all. But to a naive 17-year-old, it would look like prescription. So he did not know that this pill would end. And like Becky said, that we don't condone that experiment or self-medicate with
Yeah.
something prescribed, but they sentence. You know, you shouldn't be deceived. That will potentially, ultimately, you lose your life.
Yeah.
So we will do. I just saw your note.
Y'all still can't hear us.
No,
So
we're
sorry
hearing you. It's still just kind of
about
breaking
that.
up every now and then, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So if I go back to those direct line number, right?
What we may end up doing is, especially when we go to the commercial break here shortly, we may just have you call in on the number. And
Okay.
I have a feeling that you'll probably be getting a little message about that here in just a minute to call in, and maybe we'll get a better connection that way. I know, because I feel very strongly about y'all sharing your story and bringing awareness to a lot of parents that may be listening and having conversations with their kids about the dangers of taking medication, that they don't actually get either from their doctor or from a pharmacy, because you just don't know. Okay, I'm thinking this might be us. Let's
Yeah.
see. Swipe to answer. Okay. All right. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we may go that direction.
Okay, let's see.
Oh.
Are you
Oh,
hearing
yeah.
us better?
So much better.
So much better.
They need to
Yes.
cut off the other.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this down on the iPad.
Okay.
Okay,
just need
disconnect.
Yeah, you may just need to mute your iPad, and then we'll just do the volume off your phone.
Oh, okay, great.
We'll see how that
Did
does.
that go down enough? No, I
No,
gotta
we're still-
totally do.
Yeah, you'll have to hit mute.
Where was
Okay.
that? There. Ooh.
I'm so sorry, guys. Just bear with us a moment because we really want to hear their story.
No, that's the
Absolutely.
thing.
Is there a mute button?
Within this app here?
Are you guys getting feedback?
I think they will.
Are you getting feedback?
Is it in there? Maybe
No.
over here?
We're not getting feedback.
Okay,
Are we?
can you hear? Are you
I
hearing
can
an
hear
echo?
them now. Every now and then I can hear an echo, but
Yeah, just turn the volume down on your iPad and listen
Yeah.
through and hear and listen to them through the phone.
Yeah, for some reason
Okay.
it's like it's going down as much as it can.
Yeah.
okay. I think we're going to be good.
Okay.
Okay,
We'll
I
try to fix
apologize about that.
after the break here. So really, I mean, this could happen to anyone, any parent.
Well, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go
That's
ahead.
one thing that really needs to be to hit home is never say never. You can't say not my child. As Laura said, how blindsided they were. Zach didn't have any history, and yeah, Cameron did struggle with substances because he was always trying to find some sort of relief, but never in a million years did I expect this to happen to my child. And had he gotten the pill that he thought he purchased, he would still be here right now. Zach would still be here right now. And it's not a case of when I was young and dumb, when I could experiment and learn from my mistakes. Kids are dying from their mistakes these days. They don't get that chance to learn that they were stupid at the time.
Mhm.
And so that's what's really, really scary is the kids thinking they're, invincible, and the parents kind of sticking their head in the sand thinking, not my child. My child's a great child. We're seeing so many great kids every
Yes.
single day who are just angels on this earth that are losing their lives.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've heard of other parents being caught off guard by similar situations and maybe their kid, like you said, Laura, they make straight A's or they're a star athlete, or I've heard also a lot like they were really involved in church, so they just didn't see that coming. So as y'all have been, really touched personally by this, how would you advise parents to talk to all of their kids about this, whether or not they see signs or not?
Well, that is a great question, because no longer do we have the liberty of thinking my kid's doing great, my kid doesn't, isn't a partier, my kid isn't not dealing with any mental health issues, so I don't have to have a drug conversation. Those days are over. I had every drug conversation that I knew I needed to have with Zach around cigarettes, alcohol, marijuana, things like that. Prescription, medications, but I did not know, I was not aware of illicit fentanyl and counterfeit pills. So it was not part of our drug conversation. And I thought, as most parents do, if my child, deviated from a healthy path and engaged in any, recreational, drug use or experimentation or self-medication, I would see warning signs. I would see his grades slipping, or he wasn't as, on his game with his athletics and things like that. His friends, groups would change. But from the first time he contacted this, had contact with this dealer until he was dead was 48 hours. There was no opportunity to see any of those typical red flags that a parent would look for.
It's really fast.
So that's why I tell all parents, this has to be a part of the drug conversation, because it can happen so fast. And if these kids don't have this information, it is truly life-saving information for them, for every kid. I want it to just be common knowledge to every kid in our country. I would never take a pill that wasn't prescribed to me and that didn't come from my pharmacy, because everything out there, I just want it to be common knowledge that it's all fake. It all will have fentanyl in it, and a good percentage of them will have a fatal amount in it. And it just has to be, it happens as quickly as, friends we know, grief families that we know, where their child was off at college on a scholarship, and wanted to study, and someone said, oh, Adderall's good for that. Well, then they get a counterfeit Adderall that kills them.
Yeah.
It can just happen that quickly. Every young person needs to know that if it doesn't come from a pharmacy, it is counterfeit.
Yes. And just to expect it to be counterfeit.
Right.
Well, just
assume that it is. Absolutely.
And even if you have a friend that says, this pill is great, I know it's fine, I had one yesterday, or splitting pills.
Yeah.
Kids are splitting pills, and some are dying and some aren't from that same pill, because whoever took that one half or that one quarter, they're the ones that had that lethal dose of fentanyl in it.
Well, hang on. We're going to be right back. We're taking our commercial break real quick.
Okay. All right.
That's what I tried to figure out. I would think the other side is like microphone.
Wilfred Brimley for Loafing Dog.
I thought maybe we just turned it down. That's what I thought too, but it doesn't go. Wait, is there anything on there?
When I get my hankering for a hot dog, I go to Cleveland, Texas. Just a couple blocks off the square, they got Loafing Dog. They got the Neely Dog, the Mary Sunshine Dog, the Casey Dog, and the Shirley Dog. Why, they even got the Pacer Dog, the Brooklyn Dog, and the Jim Dog. Can't forget the Shane Dog, or the Joy Dog, and the Monty Dog. I like that fool. The Nakia Dog and the Braxton Dog round things off. Why, they even got a kids menu too.
Loafing Dog, 208 East Chambers Street, Cleveland, Texas. Lunch, catering, or takeout, plus outdoor seating. Phone numbers 817-556-1040.
This is Wilford Brimley. And don't forget, Loafing Dog won't give you diabetes.
Got a dead carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store. They got you covered.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leech Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson in Cleveland, Texas. Leech Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
So
Well, welcome back to the second half of the Reach Across Johnson County segment on Joco Community Radio. Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen or watch, simply go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The Joco Community Radio app is now available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store, check out the lineup and more on jococommunityradio.com. This episode and more is brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844.tex.hail. That's 844-839-4245. And if you're just now tuning in, we've got Laura Didier and Becky Stewart from Song for Charlie. And let me make sure that I've got them turned back on. All right, can y'all hear us okay? I think we've got everything going again. Are y'all hearing this?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yay.
Okay. All right. So hopefully on the second half, it'll be so much better. And we apologize for any problems that we may be having here. So when we were leaving, let's pick up where we were leaving off. Do y'all? There was so much stuff going on at the time.
A little distracting.
You know, we were talking about how we should talk to parents and how kids should expect that if they get any medication that is not given to them by their doctor or from their pharmacy, that they should automatically assume that it's a counterfeit pill and that it, again, one pill can kill. Did you?
Absolutely. Yeah. In our county, in Sacramento County and Placer County, where my son was killed, they are confiscating so many pills, and 99% of them are counterfeits.
Oh my
In
goodness.
fact, the Sacramento Crime Lab said they can't even remember the last time any of their confiscations contained legitimate diverted pharmaceuticals.
Mhm. So have there been a lot of loss of life in your area at this time around that y'all have lost your sons? Or because I know that for us in our area, it seems like, I don't know, within the last year and a half is when we really started hearing more about more about the fentanyl. You know, we've lost 2 youth. You know,
Well, in our county, where Zach died, in Placer County, just outside of Sacramento, we had only 3 fentanyl related deaths in 2019, and in 2020 it jumped to I think it was 25.
Oh my.
And then it was 33 in 2021. I mean, it really started exploding in our area in 2020, and that was why they suspected fentanyl was Zach, because they were just starting to see this trend. The pills were coming into our area in a really big way, and that's why it's not very common. It's getting more common, thankfully, but that's why they treated his death as a potential crime right away, because they really wanted to get to the bottom of what's going on. Because of those deaths, over half were people under 25.
Oh my goodness.
People that shouldn't be dying.
Yeah. Oh, that is so sad. Well, I know that I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, being the number one killer of 18 to 45-year-olds in America should be on everybody's radar.
Absolutely.
I mean, you cannot turn your cheek to this one. I remember when I first started giving presentations in school, there was a chart or a graph that I actually was using from Song for Charlie, where it showed the rate of deaths, and fentanyl at the time was the third
cause of
third
death.
highest death among teenagers,
Mm.
and gun violence and car accidents were 1 and 2. And I'm like, okay, we are doing active shooter training in schools. We're doing shattered dreams, DWI reenactments. Why are we not doing something about fentanyl? Because before long, you guys watch, it's going to be number 1, and it just shot up, and it is the number 1 now. It's like, why are we not doing those things? Why are we not educating our kids? Why are we taking away the requirement? At least in Texas, they've taken away the requirement for the health classes, and that's a perfect place to do it. But we're trying to circumvent, the requirements now and get in any way we can, because it's an urgent message that everybody needs to hear as soon as possible.
No, I totally agree. I know that after we had the deaths of the young people in our area, it seems that's when the focus kind of tends to jump on it. What do we do? Where's this stuff coming from? And because I know that we've had a lot of requests for the naloxone training and things like that. And I know with us, because it's not only young people that are dying of overdoses, but even our elderly community experiences the overdose by taking their medication too much. So we do a lot of trainings on the naloxone, to where it's like you need to treat naloxone as you do like a smoke detector or a fire extinguisher in your home, something that you need to have in your home as a safety precaution, and hope that you never have to use it. But I was going to ask Becky, had you heard of fentanyl very much before your son's death?
I had heard of it, and Cameron had heard of it.
Okay.
And, there's a false sense of security. I remember reading through his text after he passed, and there was a discussion there about somebody questioned him if he had it tested, whatever it was at the time. It wasn't what killed him at the time, but and he said, oh gosh, don't, got to test it. Don't want any meaning fentanyl.
Fentanyl, yeah.
And so that false sense of security that these kids can just test it, and it's not true. You could test a part of the pill,
right, and
it come back fine, but the part you didn't test is what has that lethal dose. And do you really want to take that chance? So there's so much out there to promote these test strips. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not.
But they're not that reliable.
Great. But it's given a false sense of security to these kids, and they're thinking that they're safe when they're not, and they're dying from it.
Yeah, there's a lot of misunderstanding about the proper way to use them, because using them on pills is an off market. That's not what they were made for. They were made for testing for fentanyl in urine. So people have to understand that if you want to even try to test a pill, you need to crush it entirely, dissolve it entirely. Yeah. But it may not dissolve evenly, depending on what filler materials are in there. If there's anything gelatinous, it may not completely dissolve. And so, I just have, they're not consistent. They don't give a consistent reading for pills. And then also, some kids might think, well, if I test one, the rest of the pills are fine. But the problem is no two counterfeit pills are the same.
Right.
At Song for Charlie and a lot of other agencies and people will use this analogy of making chocolate chip cookies. Fentanyl is a powder. It likes to clump together. And just like if you make a batch of chocolate chip cookies, there's inconsistent amounts of chocolate chips in each cookie. You might have a cookie with just a couple chocolate chips and one that's loaded with chocolate chips. Yeah. And that's how these batches of pills come out. They're completely inconsistent. And the fentanyl can hide in a certain portion of the pill. Like Becky said, you could share a pill and one kid is okay and his best friend is gone. Mm. So it's just, it's Russian roulette with even worse odds.
No, it's so scary.
So Laura, why are our youth being disproportionately impacted?
We feel it's two things. Those of us that are educators around this, one, these cell phones, that all kids, if you have social media, you have a drug dealer in your pocket. They are absolutely taking advantage. These bad actors are taking advantage of being able to access kids being able to take advantage of these social media, apps and access our kids directly. And then kids have a false sense of security around pills. They grew up with pill usage being so normalized. Pills are being advertised on TV. They've probably been prescribed something for, legitimately for themselves. So when they see Xanax or Percocet or Adderall, those are name brand, brands to them. So it gives them a false sense of security. Most middle schoolers and high schoolers are not going to go out and shoot up heroin.
Yeah.
That's a barrier. Like doing needle injection is generally not something that the younger demographic does. But popping pills, that seems far more safe, far, less scary and dangerous. But unfortunately, right now, it's actually the most dangerous way to experiment is with a pill that you didn't know where it came from. And I see someone mentioned about crushing them and snorting them. Yeah, that is, young people are doing that as well. So it's just the accessibility through social media, this false sense of security around pills and the normalization of pills. It's just a very, very bad combination.
Absolutely. I just noticed that somebody had put in that they work in a drug and alcohol rehab for teenage girls and would love to have you come and speak to the girls. I'm assuming that they're probably going to be in Texas, but do you both travel the country, or do you just kind of try to do presentations within your area, or how do y'all normally work that?
It just kind of depends. Obviously, with travel, there's, costs involved. I, work for a very kind of smaller kind of nonprofit. We were doing amazing national work, but it's just, a small team of us, grieving parents doing a tremendous amount of work. I stay awfully busy in my own local area. We just finished off about a dozen school assemblies at local high schools here, but I'm certainly, open to travel if it makes sense. Or we do a lot virtually. I'm sure Becky does as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way too. Everything I've done has been in the Austin area. The farthest away has been about an hour and a half, but I do not create any boundaries that I won't go through because it's just such an urgent message. I'll speak to anybody that'll listen.
Do y'all, do you normally, should they go through y'all's website to make a request, or is that usually the best way?
That's the best way for me anyway. And it's a changeforcam.org.
Okay.
And
of course, Laura is songforcharlie.org.
And what we also do, especially with Song for Charlie, we've got a lot of bereaved parents that have signed up with us, to get our newsletter, things like that, and really want to be a part of educating, their communities. So it's something where we can say, hey, we're not in that geographic location, but we know another grieving family in that area that is doing great awareness work, and we can make those connections.
That's awesome. Well, and I encourage people to go on the Song for Charlie website because you've got a lot of really good information. I actually watched one of the videos, and I'm wanting to go out and share that on our social media platforms because people do need to see this and understand what. This is a different time now that we're living in.
It really is. It would be no different than if people were on social media advertising Budweiser, but they were getting brown water and cyanide.
Right.
It would be the same thing. It would be a recognizable brand that's being counterfeited with something that is potentially lethal. It's just, we have to address this at a national level. It's great. Those of us parents are doing what we can locally. I'm very blessed. My local area has met us and just enveloped our local grieving families with such compassion, and have gotten all of the agencies on board with our own One Pill Can Kill campaigns. One pill can kill SAC. One pill can kill placer. We've got billboards. We've got TV spots. We've got ads on Snapchat.
That's amazing.
These groups, these community coalitions can do such great work, but you've got to get all the stakeholders
involved. Absolutely. And we try really.
Yeah,
we try really
what we're trying to do. Yeah.
I would really love to see there be more awareness. I know in June was the first time I'd even heard about this type of fentanyl.
Yeah.
And I was really, really surprised. I didn't know that the kids around here were into taking, pills that might be possibly laced with this substance. And one of the people that spoke at our meeting there, they had actually said that 95% of the overdoses that they're seeing in our area in kids is fentanyl.
Yes. And I bet most of those kids did not intend to take it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what they're saying, is that they didn't know what it was.
Mhm.
Right.
And some of the local moms that I speak out with here, and we just did 2 assemblies today, 2 other local moms who both lost 20-year-old sons, they got their pills from people that they knew and trusted. And so they thought they were fine. They thought it was the real thing. And they never woke up.
I must say to both of y'all, I really admire the work that y'all are doing, and that it came, not obviously not the tragedy that happened, but I like how y'all took that and are making such an impact in literally the nation. And y'all are probably saving so many kids' lives. And y'all deserve some
kudos.
applause
Yeah,
for that.
absolutely.
Like, just y'all, I think it's amazing. And if you can kind of just share, I mean, you don't have to share all the details, but just your journey to this work that y'all are doing, and yeah.
Yeah, well, when we found out what killed Zach, and there was no awareness in our area at all, we decided to put it on social media. I had actually seen this one morning, I had seen the Song for Charlie founders, Ed and Mary Ternan, who are incredible people. They had lost their son Charlie at 22. That prompted them to start the organization. I had seen them interviewed on the Today Show around this issue, and we had just gotten confirmation that fentanyl had killed Zach. So I linked to their story on the Today Show, gave a little description of what had happened to Zach. I said, please watch this link to understand this is exactly how our boy died. And because Ed Ternan, he grew up near where I live, we had mutual social media friends, and so they kind of tagged each of us, and we happened that night to be reaching out to each other at the exact same time. I was on Song for Charlie contact page, and Ed was pinging my phone through Facebook Messenger. We really feel like our boys brought us together. We always say that was just a Zach and Charlie thing, because when I got to see what they were doing with it, they had about a 7-month head start from when they had lost their son. And when I saw all the great work they were doing, I was like, that is exactly what I want to do. They're totally focused on educating kids, getting the information in front of their eyeballs, through social media campaigns, through educational presentations. And it was exactly in line with what I wanted to do. So I was just very grateful. They kind of took me under their wing, brought me up to speed on the crisis. And now I officially, work for them, and we are very collaborative. It's all grieving parents that are part of the Song for Charlie team. And it makes me feel like I didn't lose Zach in vain. When we talk to these kids, they're so compassionate. And I think at the end of the day, these kids see when we are there and we are pouring our hearts out and we're sharing our tragic stories, they can feel that we're doing it because we care about them.
Yeah.
And I think that is so powerful to any human being when you feel someone is extending themselves and being vulnerable because they love you and care about you.
Right. I can kind of share how I got started as well. Very shortly after Cameron died, I knew I wasn't going to be the mom that could sit around and let my son's death be nothing more than a statistic. I'm just not one of those people. I am comfortable speaking publicly, and I knew that education was probably the way I needed to go, because that's kind of low-hanging fruit for me. And Song for Charlie was actually putting on a webinar of how to get fake pill education into schools, and I sat in on that. Afterwards, I was like, I could really do that. So I contacted Song for Charlie representatives, and we had another meeting outside of that to see how I could do it locally in my area. Kind of what catapulted me into the education piece and contacting schools and how to go about it. And I that's where it went. And I needed to make it a little bit more personal to my son Cameron, which is why I started a Change for Cam, just to kind of give it a local flair. I do still work closely with Song for Charlie. Their resources are amazing. You know, Laura and I worked virtually together for about a year before meeting in person in June at a DEA summit in DC. And here's where I get emotional. I am so very grateful to have her in my life.
Yeah.
But on the same turn, I wish she wasn't in my life, because that would mean our sons were here.
Yeah.
She's an amazing person, an amazing friend, and
I feel exactly the same way. It was when we met each other finally face to face. The DEA had convened this family summit with grieving families like us. About 75 of us came. We had access to the administrator, Ann Milgram, to Chief of Operations, Ray Donovan. They were right there in the room with all of us, hugging us, saying, how can we all work together? How can we support what your organizations are doing? It was really, really incredible. And I felt like I was hugging an old friend, you know, that we were together there, had some very special experiences there in DC. And then when we got this sentencing date for tomorrow, Becky called and said, hey, I really want to be there for you. I want to fly out from Texas if that doesn't stress you out or anything. You know, I'd love to be able. I was like, girl, you get on a plane, and I will be so grateful to have your support through this, because it's a club that no parent wants to join, but its members are incredible people. I think we're all stronger together. You get a lot of pushback with stigma. You get a lot of people blaming parents or blaming kids. I shed some tears over that when I first went public. I shed a lot of tears over that when I first went public. I do not anymore, because that is not worth my energy or my time. What is worth my energy and time are these families, are these kids, are these people that need to know what this crisis is about.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to do my part, and I'm grateful to have, this cohort, of parents.
Absolutely. I know I signed up for the newsletter at the Song for Charlie, so to kind of follow that. And I wanted to ask, what process did y'all have to go through to get it into some of the schools?
I was kind of wondering that too, because I'm sure that y'all have maybe seen a little pushback, or have you seen any pushback from the schools about letting y'all in?
Yeah, there's a lot of pushback in the Austin area. Unfortunately, Texas is behind a lot of states in their progress on getting awareness out there, and even tracking the deaths to where it doesn't look like it's as bad as it is. I mean, it looks horrific, trust me. But I started out small. My kids went to a private Christian school in Austin, and I knew all of the administrators and staff. So that was going to be something where I knew I wasn't going to be afraid to approach them, and I did. And then I just started blindly sending out emails to schools, getting on their websites and finding either superintendents or principals, telling my story. Being that it was local, I had a little bit more success, because they're like, oh my gosh, this is our own backyard. But the bigger school districts are always, well, we have to get approval for that. So we're really trying, at least in the Austin area, we're really trying to get creative on ways we go about it and reaching different people versus the administration, because they're going to say no, or say it has to go through a certain process. So putting on events that are more community-wide, that are sponsored by some schools, has been successful. A panel of experts, we've done a couple of those in the Austin area, and so that's been a good thing for us. But some schools take it and run with it. They're like, yes, come talk to every single one of our students. And we do multiple back-to-back ones, which is very exhausting. But you keep going because you know they're listening.
That's good. I'm so glad that y'all are doing that.
We've been fortunate in our area because our local DA's offices have made it a priority, and they have been a lot kind of in front of this to get Health and Human Services, to get school districts, to get everybody's buy-in that it needs to happen. So this run of assemblies we just finished was really the organization that got a lot of these dates set up was our local DA's office.
Oh, that's good that you got them involved and that they were supporting that.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting down to the last couple of minutes, and I wanted you to be able to share, and I'm pretty sure that we've got it listed on here too, as far as the websites. I see that Tiffany's put those on there. How do they find your Facebook pages and things like that as well?
Sure. I am on Facebook. It's Laura Olson, Olson Didier, Didier. And I do spread a lot of awareness messaging on my social media. And then Song for Charlie, I have an email address, and it would be laura@songforcharlie.org. And I need to give a quick shout out to our other dear friend, Jen Epstein. She really is our education guru. She is the one that puts together so much of the educational stuff and leads those monthly meetings to bring other parents in that want to do awareness in their local areas. She orchestrates all of that work. She is incredible. She lost her 18-year-old son in Portland, Oregon.
Oh my goodness. Well, y'all are doing such amazing stuff to get the word out about this, and we really appreciate y'all coming on and doing the show with us this evening to bring awareness. And I know that we may be looking into trying to get more information within our own school districts to bring awareness. And like you said, sometimes it's a little difficult, but we've got to keep trying.
Right. With us being so close to some major highways, but also so close to Mexico, sometimes I feel like we are very at risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know we're probably fixing to have our commercial start running on top of us, but
And I want to say real quickly too, it doesn't have to be someone coming and speaking. If it's nothing more than you putting up a poster, or some flyers around, that's a start, and getting people to talking about it and aware, and maybe that'll turn into something bigger and approval for something bigger.
Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, so very much for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in for the Reach Across Johnson County segment on JoCo Community Radio.
Thank you.
Thanks.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio.